Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Gumshoe Gamer Podcast. It's been a while since I called the podcast by name. Uh, Today is our spoopy podcast episode where we don't actually spend a lot of time talking about spoopy stuff because that's how we like to roll here. Today, with me, I have a guest who hasn't been on the podcast and one who, well, might as well have not been on the podcast before. You wanna introduce yourselves, guests?
Hi, it's May. I'm a third timer now,
Woo!
I think.
May's back,
Yeah.
everybody.
Third time, yeah.
And
I'm
who-
Koola. This is the first time I've ever been on the podcast, so yeah.
and what is it that you do?
So I make YouTube videos, mostly gameplay commentary, sort of comedy style. I try to edit the videos to make myself look a bit more funny than I actually am.
Isn't that what they all do?
It's true.
Well,
it's true.
you say that, but not all of them take even the time to edit.
True.
That's true. Yeah, it's a bit awkward watching
the ones who do
30-minute
do it.
videos when 20% of them are just dead air.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was gonna leave like a solid minute of just me not talking. I thought like no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that joke. So before we get into our main topic, which is gonna be a little bit about horror games, we're gonna talk about some headlines. We actually have a lot to cover, so we're gonna try and get through most of these pretty fast than I usually do. So the first thing up, and we'll just get the probably the biggest and important one out of the way, is that if you haven't seen across the Twitters, then you probably don't know about Rockstar. Well, I mean, if you don't, then that's kind of hard to say because Red Dead 2 is out and people have been going nuts about it. But there's something else to kind of go nuts for, depending on your opinion on this. It has come out to say that there's a lot of talk about the workers being possibly overworked, and reports of 100-hour weeks have been happening from some certain people. I will post a link to a great Kotaku article that actually goes a little bit more in depth into some of the accusations and some stuff that the employees have said. It's actually a very fascinating read. If you can, so I highly recommend you read that. So I guess my question for our guest is, what do you think about all this? This crunch time, this period where the developers are just on basically overtime until the game is done, or so to speak.
I think the biggest thing to point out is it's not actually overtime.
Ah,
And
there you
they're
go.
not being forced to do it, especially not in Rockstar's case. It's them choosing to do so.
Yeah, it is a good point. I mean, technically, it's still overtime. It's just not
Yeah.
forced
It's not-
overtime.
And it's not paid. It's voluntary.
Yeah, and it was only 4 dudes, if I'm correct. I'm not sure.
That
Yeah,
the original story, it was only four dudes, and then the 100-hour work, a lot of people were kind of spinning it to be like, oh no, that's every single employee. It's like, okay, no, but
It's
after
only-
the fact, we got a lot more employees that say that overtime was kind of like a thing that you just expected. It's like, oh well, of course I'm gonna be having this period, and that's still like a
I mean, fans are pushing for a game to not be a buggy mess by the time it comes out. The employees are going to try and work hard to get it done.
Yeah, it can be a very awkward sort of situation where you feel like as if you have to work a little bit harder than because everyone else seems to be working harder. But Rockstar had said, I'll try and find it if later, or maybe someone else can find it. They did say that they have told their employees before that all overtime is optional. They don't have to do it. And while it is expected, there's no sort of consequence, I guess, for not wanting to do it, refusing to do it, which would be a much bigger issue if, say, they would get fired for refusing to do overtime.
Yeah. The problem is, though, is that whenever I read stuff like that, there's always just this bit of, I guess, cynicism, because it's really weird how Rockstar would just say this, given the fact that have been a lot of reports, I think, even in the past, of them just mass firing people. And I mean, it's great that we and you know, maybe Rockstar has changed. Maybe this is their new policy, which is great if that is. But I also think that there's a lot of other companies too that also just make crunch time a mandatory thing, and don't, and you know, maybe want to fire them once the game is done.
Bad lately, let's be honest.
What was that? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
You're gonna have to.
Game companies have just looked bad lately.
Yeah, that's basically the theme of 2018. Is
part of Rockstar's problem is they're kind of just getting lumped and automatically assumed to be horrible because everyone else is looking horrible.
Yeah, like actually, like Rockstar is probably in a much better position than all of these other ones. You know, they're not Telltale and they're not EA, so I think we're and you know, that's not to say that there hasn't been a lot of good reports and good anecdotes. So it's just kind of at this moment where this is great, but the problem is that all I have to base on this is just anecdotes from employees that say, oh yeah, this is just kind of how it is. And
I feel like with everything that's gone on lately in the game industry, though, because especially if they gave permission for employees to talk, if something really bad was happening, someone would have said something, regardless of contract.
Yeah. And it would have been quite a few people coming out saying it too, I imagine, not just one or two, maybe.
Yeah, because there's been a bit of a movement lately in the game industry with employees in depth.
The gaming industry in general, as far as I'm aware, doesn't actually have a union, so there's technically no ways of protecting game developers, like the individual game developers, workers or whatever, from overtime and forced overtime and stuff like this. It's sort of, you're sort of just the company, you're just hoping that the companies respect their workers and that they don't overwork them and stuff, but there's nothing really legally stopping them from doing it if they want to.
That's basically a QA's life in a nutshell. There's been horror stories posted about terrible QA experiences, and oh god, I feel for them. Like, being a QA is basically overtime all the time, and if you like slack off, then well, you're going to be fired and replaced with another one. It's like the most replaceable position that they ever. It's oof. Okay.
I'll get what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Though I do think that the biggest takeaway from this is to kind of just look at the whole crunch time and say, like, is this actually damaging for mental health of it? And I think it just kind of comes down to I think it's as long as it's their choice, as long as they can have a choice to do it, and they're not super encouraged, I do think that it is fine. I don't know if that's going to be a super controversial
as long as it
opinion.
doesn't become a thing for every game for them, I feel like it should be fine.
Yeah,
like it starts to be happening consistently.
If the people working on the game want to work on it more, and you know, they can reasonably do it, and if they're not overworking themselves, then I think that they should be allowed. I also think that maybe there should be some limit, like, they like, even if they are overworking, I think someone should kind of say, okay, dude, you've been working at this for a while, maybe just take a little break and come back to it.
Would be nice if there's like a max limit of overtime.
Yeah, it's just saying like, okay, just
especially if it's unpaid.
Because that's kind of the thing with America too, is that we kind of glorify workaholism a lot.
Which isn't good.
We're lazy here.
Oh yeah, but it's the U.S., so it's very different kind of.
Because honestly, if you have to work overtime that often, why don't you just get paid for it like it's regular hours? Why does it have to be overtime?
Because technically it is, because law.
I know, but what I'm saying is if it becomes a norm at that point, then you may as well just extend your hours. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, here I'm not sure too much about America, but when we work overtime, we have time and a half and double time. So basically, if you work overtime, you get paid. You'll either get paid time and a half or double time, which just means you get paid 50% extra, or depending, I think it's on certain times you might even get paid double the amount, just because it's becoming strenuous and it's harder work because you've been working for extended periods of time. So
we basically have that same system over here.
I think we have that, but I think it really depends on the employer, though.
Yeah, I think the employer does get a say on how it does, but it has to. But that has to happen if an employee works overtime. You have to do that. You can't just have them work overtime but not actually pay the overtime thing. I'm pretty sure, unless I don't know, maybe there's some loophole where some companies can get around it.
Shit companies, yeah.
This is probably some way.
I think they can get away with it in game development because of not having a union and stuff like that.
Yeah, the developers don't have unions. I know some people are probably going to say that. Oh wait, yes, games have unions. No, that's voice actors. Voice actors have unions. Yeah. And if you remember when the voice actors went on strike, some of the developers were just like, wait, why can't this happen for us? And that's just, well, Sonny, because you don't have a union. Which is very unfortunate, but now the conversation has kind of been like, we should probably get a union, but I'm not gonna go into the whole politics stuff with that, because that's a whole nother can of worms, and frankly, it's like very early in the morning for us, so no, just no
politics.
So
also, if you hear loud noises, that's rabbits, as always.
Oh, see, and now we got rabbits on the podcast. Boom.
If you can hear noise on my end, it's just my dog. He's in the same room as me, so he's been quiet so far. But yeah.
Oh, my dog is just asleep. It's like fully asleep.
He's tearing something up on my end, but I can just hear him, so hopefully he's not coming up through the microphone too loudly.
All right. We're gonna move on to the next one. This is one that I really wanted to talk about too. Is Mega Man 11 has recently came out and is probably going to be quickly forgotten now that Red Dead 2 is out. But I honestly think that Mega Man 11 is a fantastic game. Not only does it bring back the classic formula, and I finally update the visuals. No more just retro callback. Like actually a proper new Mega Man game. It probably has one of the best selections of Robot Masters. It probably has some of the best level design I've seen. And is probably a good spot for newcomers to join in as well. It's like it hits all those beats.
Compared to being the Sonic Mania for Capcom. That's what it was.
Well, like kind of, except that Sonic Mania was like so specific to Sonic, being in a bit type of thing. But now this is when I first saw the game, I thought this was not going to be good. I'm just like, this looks way too floaty. It's like, I don't know about the art style.
Isn't there something about customization too?
Well, I mean,
I think I
it's
saw screenshots of that.
I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but but I do know that the Robot Master weapons allow for a lot of a lot more varying playthroughs, especially now that basically every stage has a mini boss, and that mini boss is weak to the weapon that you can use, and you can basically beat every single mini boss within 5 seconds if you know what you're doing. I found that really really interesting. There's more there's more alternative pathways, which is always nice. That you have to kind of figure out how to access them.
But you don't stay in the air when you go through a door.
No, you don't. And Capcom, you gotta patch that out because I'm no, you can't do that. Don't do that. This is worst game.
Unsatisfying.
Mega Man 11's an 11 out of 10. Wait.
Mega Man 11. We remembered gravity.
Yeah. Suddenly, like now you remember.
Apparently, it originally wasn't going to be a Mega Man game.
Really?
Yeah.
What was going to
be? It's a project that is still possibly going to end up happening, so it was secretive. I don't have the article. I wish I still had the article.
Oh, like just a new IP or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a new IP, but they're like, let's just bring Mega Man back. And I'm pretty sure what caused them to bring Mega Man back was Mighty Number 9. In fact, this entire game just screams like a big FU to Mighty Number 9. It's doing everything that it tried to do and actually succeeding.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played a Mega Man for a long time, and this has definitely got my attention back.
Yes, so one of the reasons why I would say that it's actually a good spot for new people to join in is because it actually has proper difficulty now. It has 4 difficulties, and 3 of them are actually pretty easy. You got like the easy newcomer mode where you don't die from spikes, and it's a lot easier to just kind of go through the game if you really just don't like this type of gameplay, but you really want to play the game. That's basically what newcomer mode is. Then you got an easier mode where it's just basically where spikes still, or that's when spikes start to give you instant death, and the game kind of functions like it basically is supposed to. You just take less damage and do more. And then you got normal, and then you got like the hard mode, and that's it. So it's also a very forgiving game. I don't feel like there's any cheapness to it. So yeah, I think that it's a good spot for people if you want to join in. You want to see what's this Mega Man? Why is there 11 games?
I don't think I've ever actually played a Mega Man game, and if I have, it was a long time ago, and I don't remember. But it looks fun.
And hey, if you can't afford Red Dead 2 like me, then
I never even played the first one.
Same.
Well, technically, Red Dead Redemption was the second Red Dead game, really, isn't it? Because Red Dead Revolver was before that.
Wow, I didn't.
Wow, I didn't know anyone else knew about that. I was.
Oh, really?
No.
Technically, Red Dead 2 is the third game, but it's like they basically called it like it would be like if Bethesda decided to say, "Oh, yeah, here comes Skyrim 2, Elder Scrolls 5, Skyrim 2." Like, what?
Elder Scrolls 5 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Final Fantasy up in here.
Yeah, well, they did that with Final Fantasy 10, didn't they? Yeah.
10 and 10 2, and then 13 had 13 2, and then, well, not 13 3.
Yeah, it's crazy.
There's a trilogy of bad games.
I really didn't think they'd go with the 2. And not even is it Red Dead Redemption 2, it's also a sequel, which makes it even more confusing. A prequel, sorry, it's even more confusing.
Well, that's because how Rockstar rolls. Also, I felt like I heard that, you know, given certain stuff what happens with the ending, it kind of makes sense why it would be a prequel. That's what I've heard. I have no idea because I basically have been able to avoid spoilers for the game, for the original game, which is amazing because it's really old by internet standards.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think I didn't go ahead and spoil it because I was about to say something referring to the ending, but now I'll avoid that.
It's like, well, yeah, you're on a podcast with two people that have not played the first game, like at all.
I think I would live with spoilers, though.
I do.
Dumb doesn't want.
Well, I mean, there's that, but there's also maybe the listeners don't know. I mean, you know, very unlikely, but I don't want to ruin it for that one person that listens to this. It's like, come on.
I got Assassin's Creed Odyssey spoiled for me, actually. I scrolled down and saw a certain thumbnail. It wasn't, I wouldn't say it's a big spoiler. But
oh, no, you can play as a female.
Yes, that's
ruined forever.
It kind of one of the bits I was sort of looking forward to, and it just got straight up spoiled in the thumbnail.
Oh, man. Was it something after the 15 hours or before the 15 hours? You know, when the game's supposed to actually get good?
After the 15 hours, for sure, yeah.
So yeah, anyway, that's a good segue into our next topic, which is actually Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I'm not even joking.
You're welcome.
I'm not even joking. So
definitely not looking at the list and seeing what we have to talk about next.
No, of course not. Unfortunately, this is not a Mario Odyssey mod. This is a real game filled with the brim to microtransactions and a lot of bugginess that I have seen. Like, oh my god, it's really, really hilarious.
It's the standard nowadays, apparently.
Yeah. I actually think that, though, like, while I say this, Assassin's Creed Odyssey is still interesting in the fact that it's the first Assassin's Creed game that really feels like an RPG.
Yeah. To be honest, as when the first Assassin's Creed game came out, I've wanted to explore ancient Greece for like ever.
Yeah, that's actually it was a really popular request, even though it takes place before the Brotherhood even existed. So now I'm really questioning what.
I think they may have spread themselves out a little thin, adding all of the different shit that they did. Again, I've tried to avoid it for spoiler reasons myself.
But basic. The basic gist is that they're back at it again with Assassin's Creed Syndicate and Unity styles of clusters, where I can't see the actual map. All I see is just everything is filled with some type of square or marker. Also, the points where you need to activate, Eagle Vision so you get a good view of the map is like a little bit more obnoxious to actually reach, because most of them are statues, and climbing them takes a good amount of time, so that's kind of annoying.
Well, imagine if it had the old like Assassin's Creed 1 climbing system. It'd take half an hour just to get up like
jeez, yes.
That first game is the first game, and it feels like it. If you ever revisit that game, oh my god, that's aged so bad. I don't even know how people played it. It's like
I mean, the climbing's like
it was something different,
fairly realistic, but for a game, I mean, it's just
also
it's cool for like the first 10-20 minutes, and then it just becomes like a chore.
Oh yeah, man, that totally reminds me. It's like yeah, the first Assassin's Creed was basically all about being realistic. In the beta, he had a crossbow, but it's like, well, we can't have him having a crossbow because that doesn't make any sense for the time period.
Yeah, that's true.
And then now you get like Assassin's Creed, Origins, which has a Chocobo DLC in ancient Egypt. Oh yeah, totally realistic.
That makes sense because fucking just fuck up the history of Earth now, because
Chocobos existed apparently in ancient Egypt times. You didn't know that?
It is supposed to be.
But if that's the case, then doesn't that make fucking Kingdom Hearts actually exist in a roundabout way?
Oh no! And if Kingdom Hearts exists, that means Disney exists.
Yes.
And if Disney exists, that means Star Wars exists. And if Star Wars,
you're telling me Goofy's real?
Apparently, He's not just this creation for entertainment. It actually exists.
Though, we say that, but we might actually be living in a post-apocalyptic world where they're all dead.
True.
It could have happened so far in the past. This is now a conspiracy theory podcast. I'm so sorry.
Cranked up the conspiracy theory.
True. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is basically a conspiracy theory game, so I mean, it's relevant.
I will mention.
I mean, hey, though, you can play as a female or male in this game. So
yeah, I like that it's more actually a choice given.
Boom.
But I never actually had a problem with not being able to play a female because you were obviously playing a male for a reason.
Yeah, but
although I think it would have been funny when Desmond was around.
Yeah,
play female relative.
Yeah, at the start, a couple of the first games, it sort of dug themselves in a hole. They had to like play as a male or a pregnant female, I suppose. But now they've got the whole thing. Oh, we can just find some blood from this person, so we can play as anyone really now. So
yeah, that started with the fourth game, I think. Is basically when they moved to the
observatory thing at the end. Yeah, spoilers alert, by the way.
Oh yeah, which by the way, four is still one of my favorites. In both, because I actually like both plots, and I like how they're very integrated. It just feels very natural, which is just amazing. And that's as good as the real life stuff ever gets is in 4, because after that it starts to become less of a thing. And in this game and in Odyssey, it's just relegated to audio logs, and you just see the little waveform. That's the only cue you get of the outside world. It's like even they know that no one really cares about this.
That sucks in my opinion, because I always thought
the one thing that actually could connect all the Assassin's Creed games is the thing everyone hates.
I didn't hate it, but that's not a shocker.
Yeah, I think it's real split, honestly. I think 50% of people seem to really like the modern day, and 50% don't. But I mean, the 50% that don't are the
play around more in modern day. But
yeah, basically the people that will like the more modern day stuff, they probably also like the film.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
And it's just that it's very sad that we'll never get something like we had with Desmond in the Ezio trilogy.
Yeah.
Where that was the peak of both.
Honestly.
And then it kind of dipped with 3, and then it went back up. And then
there's something I could say that's kind of spoilerish for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but it could also potentially I don't know how to word this without being spoilers. Spoiler-y.
Is it like an endgame thing, or is this like a?
Yes, sort of. It's mentioned probably a few times throughout the game.
Oh, okay, sure. Sure, it's okay. And besides, since it is one of our topics, you can spoil it.
I can?
Yeah.
All right, anyone listening, just like cover your ears for like 30 seconds or something. So the staff of Hermes or whatever, however you pronounce it, basically piece of Eden. It allows you to live for longer and stuff, but also it's theorized by Layla that it can actually rewrite history. So certain aspects of Assassin's Creed may be coming back. The people even thinking that Desmond may be coming back, stuff like that.
So it's a reboot.
Don't get my hopes up.
It's a reboot.
Part of the
it's a way to reboot the series without actually rebooting the series.
Sort of. It's part of the reason why you can choose Cassandra or Alexios. It's sort of a alternate timeline sort of thing where it's been rewritten in a sense. It's also the point where Staff of Hermes is very like it's used the most. People are talking about it the most in that sort of.
Okay. That's just the piece of Eden for the game. I don't think that's not too much of a spoiler.
I mean, that's not bad.
That's actually not bad. Like
I tried to avoid it as much as I could. I just tried to. There's a certain person that uses it that is a big spoiler, and yeah.
All right. But would you say that overall It is an enjoyable game. Because
I'd still plan on playing it eventually.
I'll probably end up picking
Just
it up
for
when
a
it's like
love of the
$5.
whole, not the trilogy, love of the series or franchise in general.
Even Unity.
So I'm currently I'm currently wearing my Assassin's Creed hoodie, and in the background I've got the figurines that have come with every game since Assassin's Creed 2. I don't think there was one that come with Assassin's Creed 1. That's the only reason I don't have one. So I might be a bit impartial to this Assassin's Creed topic.
Me too.
Yeah, it's yeah.
I think all three of us are, because Gum's a big fan.
I'm kind of, but I'm very skeptical of these newer ones. It's like,
it's just understandable.
Like,
it's fair.
I got burned hard with Unity, and then that's when I basically just took my break. It's like,
honestly,
I think
Unity
was fine. It got a little bit better after a lot of patches and stuff, but it was sort of, I think the one I least enjoyed out of all of them was probably Syndicate. It just sort of felt like
and that's really weird, because Syndicate is way more polished than Unity, but Syndicate gets like very boring and very repetitive really fast, and it doesn't really go anywhere. Even though I liked, even though that had a mechanic where you could play as the female. So well, how about that? Odyssey isn't the first Assassin's Creed to do that. Well, actually, I think the first Assassin's Creed to have a female playable assassin would be that Liberation.
Yes.
PlayStation
exclusive one,
which got an HD re-release.
Never get to play.
It's got an HD re-release, right?
No, I didn't know that. Gum, do I pay attention to video game
remake too?
news?
I think.
No, yeah, it got an HD remake. I think it's on Uplay.
I think it comes with Odyssey.
I know it's on the 360 and it's backwards compatible with Xbox One.
It is.
Yes, it is.
I think it comes with a certain edition of Odyssey. I'm not sure if I remember.
Oh, weird. Oh well. Anyway. Oh man! If you want to talk about the additions of Odyssey, the like pie and graph chart that are the additions of Odyssey, where you literally need to pull up like this whole map.
Just get the crap out of me.
All right. Anyway, let's go move on to Super Mario Party. It's back. We got the classic, the Mario Party, and I really want to switch now. Please give me Switch.
If you get one, you can play with me. You have to get Mario.
Oh man, I can't believe it. Now I can ruin my friends on the go, and not in GBA crappy form, like an actual real Mario Party form, where you
just can $20 a month, or not $20 a month, $20 a year.
I was like $20 a month. Like whoa, they just jacked up their price.
No. It's $20 a year.
Yeah,
I just recently got it for this whole year.
Woo! So yeah, we talked about the online nature in the last podcast. So if you're wondering like why we probably won't address that here, yeah, that's why. Super Mario Party though looks to be another contender for best Mario Party in my opinion. From what I've seen, it looks like more of a best of Mario Party without being that actual best of Mario Party that we don't speak of because it's literally kind of crap.
And you actually don't have to have the damn what is it, car mechanics or whatever it is in the game. You can. It's like classic Super Mario. Party. It's classic Mario Party.
It's not the let's all work together in a car and away from Bowser. That's fun, right? It's fun, guys.
And I don't know about anyone else, but I just found it like hard to like grasp the concept of like everyone moves like when you throw the die.
I will say though that Mario Party 10 was that the one with Bowser in the Wii U? Yeah, I think it was 10. It was 10, right? It was 10. Mario Party 10, where you got to play as Bowser. That actually was fun. The problem is that it's kind of fun for like only 2 times, and that just gets very obnoxious. Because you and it's only, and then by then it only gets fun for the person that plays as Bowser. And then other than that, it's just no. Oh.
Yeah.
We're not even going to mention the thing that happened, right?
No, we are. In fact, you're going to say it. What?
I know exactly
What
where
happened?
you're going with this. Yeah, what happened?
The breaking of the internet with
The Super Crown?
Super Crown.
Oh, but that's not a Mario Party thing. You're just like totally segueing in that we're going to talk about Bowser. It's like, what? Why? Why would we?
It's topical.
No, just because.
What was the Super Crown from anyway? Wasn't
So
I don't know what
that
it's
is
from.
from
That's what I'm saying.
another Mario game that is coming out, which is Super Mario, New Super Mario Bros. U, is getting ported.
See, I didn't even know. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so it's getting ported
Oh,
to
gotcha, yeah.
the Switch, and it's still called Super Mario Bros. U. I forget what the other thing they called it. I think it was Deluxe. And it's gonna come with that and Luigi U. So you get 2 games basically. And they decided to add in Toadette as a playable character instead of basically to replace one of the Toads, to actually have be a little bit more recognizable. And Toadette has a mechanic where she picks up the Super Crown and she becomes Princess Peach for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like, yeah. And that's where the Super Crown came.
And now she's just like completely ignored by the
And Nintendo stocks went up because of that. Or maybe not. I don't know. There's debate.
It's like the meme you see, the picture of the guy of Nintendo giving their Twitter account or media or whatever the Super Crown and says, "Here, advertise this," and then they see the guy barges in or whatever, stocks are rising. He says, "What did you do?" And he looks, he says, "I don't know."
I just think of oh god, I totally forget his name. Who did that one skit? Oh god. I'll have to here.
Describe this.
Hold on. I'll actually link it in our group.
I linked that Mega Man article too.
Oh, sweet. Please tell
cool.
me I at least actually did share it, or maybe I didn't, and I'm an idiot. Yep. I guess I probably didn't share it. All right. And well, I'll say more about it after the podcast. Anyway, let's move on to I think the last thing that we'll talk about, and then we'll move on to our topic. Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is out, and people say it's very, very fun. Though there's no story mode, and there's an actual health bar. There's no regenerating health. You actually have like health bar now and Battle Royale.
No, what?
It's so weird that this game breaks a lot of traditions. First off, Black Ops 4, it's not the Roman numerals. It's literally 4 eyes. I'm like, what? This logo makes no sense. You gotta.
Yeah.
Don't do that. You're just broke.
What are they going to do when they get to like? They're just going to keep adding more and more numbers until they get to like Black Ops 23, and it's just 23 lines.
See, the sad thing is that when Black Ops 3 was announced, the joke was that they would just keep adding that. I remember seeing memes where Black Ops 4 was literally that, and the joke was that because of course they would never do that, and then they ended up doing that, and I'm like, what? Then again, I also said, they're probably Call of Duty has such a recognizable multiplayer, and for them to just totally change it up is just very odd. Like,
it's going to look like a barcode when it gets to like 20 or 30.
Oh my god!
And then you're gonna scan it, and then it's like a whole nother game. It's like
yeah, because they had the opportunity to switch to Roman numerals, but clearly that's not what they're doing.
Nope, because they got to be hardcore and edgy. There's no campaign mode in this.
Maybe they're doing tally marks.
Yeah.
Tally marks. This would be a slash. Okay. You know what? I would actually buy that. I mean, I wouldn't buy the game, but I would buy the fact that it would be tally marks.
Yeah, like military people a lot of the time, soldiers, whatever, will do telemarks on their like arms
Yeah,
or something for the
okay.
kills that people have done.
Wow. I was thinking like, oh, this is supposed to be Roman numerals, right? And so what the frick are they doing? I'm like, oh, maybe it's telemarks. I'm like, now everything makes sense. It all makes sense. It's telemarks.
And then
Or we're
Black
just
Ops-
hyping it up and
Black
it's
Ops
just
5 comes out and
not.
they just add another one on the end of it, and then all
Yeah.
hell floats.
Okay. Yeah.
Or they just completely changed it up and it's just the number 5.
Oh God, I hate that. Don't do
That's
that.
what Saints
Oh.
Row does, doesn't it? Every single Saints Row has had a different like thing on the end of it. Like it was just Saints Row, then it was Saints Row 2, then it was Saints Row the Third, and then Saints Row 4 was in Roman numerals.
Mm-hmm.
All 4 have been different. So
Yeah, but then again, I think that was kind of like a joke, just like.
I mean, the whole
inside.
game's a joke.
Well, that's what they were intended to be.
Well,
That's
I
true,
mean,
it's just
not the first two, but definitely the third and definitely the fourth one.
I feel like the first one definitely wasn't. The second one was kind of getting into that territory though. And the
Yeah,
third and fourth,
yeah,
for sure.
it was embracing the more like, the more
Polarity of those
yeah.
types
There
of
you go.
games.
Thanks for
Yeah.
saving me. Though it's really funny that we say this because I don't know if you know, but Saints Row the Third is getting ported to the Switch. Only the third though.
Oh my
Not the
god!
fourth.
Oh my god,
I'm
really?
gonna want to get it.
I'm wondering why.
I
It just
some of the
is.
Saints Row games because they were on Steam or something.
And
some
also
of them
Resident Evil 4 is getting ported to the Switch because now it's got to be on everything.
I was just about to say, how many times has it been ported? Surely it's
Everything.
not as much as Skyrim though.
It
Still haven't
rivals Skyrim.
It's true. It'd be very close.
I mean, and unlike Skyrim, it's actually a good game. That was a joke. Don't at me. It was a joke. Please. Sorry. All right.
It's true. It's subjective. All games are though, really.
So you have anything else to say about Call of Duty, or do we just like screw it and talk like
have
actually
been-
about something interesting?
I've been away from that series for a very long time.
I mean, there's the blackout mode that's become ridiculously popular too.
Yeah,
I think that
that's
might be
true.
why most people are playing it actually.
Yes,
The whole
that is
Battle Royale thing
that
is
is the
still
mode
going.
that everyone is playing, except for the people that like zombies.
True. And to be fair, I think there are zombies in blackout.
Yes,
if I'm-
there are. That's like,
Yeah.
and that's the thing that can happen. It kind of functions like the red zone in PUBG. Like
oh
to
yeah.
kind of draw a parallel. I mean, it's not the same, but it kind of
Yeah,
functions like
just
like
certain areas that are
Mhm.
infested with zombies. And
yeah.
some aren't.
But
Most
and
of them.
if you go to them, then you have a chance to actually get better loot, but it's a little more dangerous, especially early on. So that's a
Okay.
It's a very interesting thing. See, the problem with me, what happens with every new COD game is that I think like, okay, I'm not gonna get this one, and then videos start coming out, and I see that, oh god, people are actually having fun. Oh man, this could actually be a fun experience. And then by the time that I get around to where I can afford it, the game's starting to die, and then the next one gets hyped up, and I'm like, oh, it's just this endless cycle.
Yeah.
It's just no. That's happened with me in World War II. It's like I wasn't going to get that one, and then it happened to be 50% off later, and I was like, oh okay, looks like this is pretty fun, and I had a blast playing as David Tennant in the zombies. So
Oh, yeah.
I felt like I got my money's worth
His
with the
commentary
zombies.
was enough. Let's go.
Yeah, I felt like I got my money's worth. So I'm good. Oh well. Anyway, let's move on to our actual topic now today, which is going to be about what makes a good horror game. I know this is kind of very general, but so let's try to break this down. First off, what would you consider to be a horror game? Like, what are
Excuse me.
what?
We didn't talk about Luigi's Mansion.
Well, yeah, because I was gonna segue into that when we talked about horror. I was like,
I was going to bring
Okay,
it up
that's
at
fair.
the end if we
yeah,
forgot about it.
Well, you know how I feel about that game, so I was gonna.
no, yeah,
be
we
insulted if
will,
You didn't
we
talk
will,
about it. Okay.
and you totally ruined it. All right, anyway, because when I think of horror games, I think of something that is legitimately supposed to either scare or provoke the player in a way that you wouldn't normally see with like basically everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I say that, but a lot of aspects of horror games like atmosphere and such, or even like bare bones gameplay, you could kind of attest to games like Luigi's Mansion, where
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that would be considered a horror game, or
I mean,
or
that's how
not.
it could be for some. Like, I think it's like it would be like
It's
a safe game.
baby's first horror game.
Yes, basically. But
Introduction
I
to
still
horror.
have an appreciation for it. I think it's probably the scariest game they could have made.
Well,
With their
it is,
Yeah.
and
Scariest Mario game.
I have been finally going through the second game on my 3DS, and that's actually really fun. Very very different. I think that the
I need to
episodic
pick it up.
nature has some issues, but other than that, yeah. So this isn't to say that like stuff that makes up horror games are specifically only found in horror titles, but I like to say that, just kind of for clarity, that when we're talking about horror games, I'm talking about something that would just provoke the player. But then again, I don't even think I need to go into that, because there is a lot of games that we could put into here. And honestly, the whole evolution of horror games from like the DOS days of Alone in the Dark, where it was just these like polygons,
Mm-hmm.
and you had to walk into a room and you had no idea what to do, very trial and error. I had no idea that, I had to put a sword here, because I put a sword here, but it has to be the right sword, and I have to find what that sword is, and oh god, and it's the wrong sword, I'm dead. Oh, I forgot to save. Great, I gotta replay this entire game all over again. That's the type of game.
More scarier than the actual horror games.
That's the type of game the first Alone in the Dark is. It's one of those. There's no autosaves. It's super super archaic. It's a blast if you have the time and patience though. But yeah. And now we get and like now when we talk about like horror games, like whenever I say, oh well, what's the first thing that pops into your mind whenever I talk about like a horror game? What's the first thing?
I think the first thing I think of is just like a first-person view in like a dark, like
something like PT,
a mansion, or sort of, like whether it's a mansion or just anywhere dark, really, where you don't have a very good sight or anything.
Just good. I had the word and now it's completely blanked on me. Just good atmosphere.
Yeah. A good mood. Big mood.
Big mood. Big scary mood. Spoopy mood. Too spoopy for me.
So does that mean Overwatch Halloween is a horror?
No.
No, I don't really know if it's horror. It's more of
that was a joke.
In general. I know. It was the same for the Luigi thing though too. It's sort of where do you draw the line for horror and like?
I feel like Luigi would be a cute.
Also, I think one that we should note is Doom. Is that technically horror, even though it's not made all the time to scare the audience?
That's another one that's a good balance, I guess.
Because, like, I know the obvious answer.
When you get to the point where you add so much action into a game that kind of is horrifying, it kind of dulls it a bit.
And that's
why I don't really like most of my experience with Resident Evil is Resident Evil 7, but you have a lot of.
Oh yeah, you have a lot of freedom in.
Yeah,
in
I feel like when you have so much ability to fight back, it kind of dulls the horror aspect.
You say that, but then I look at the Dead Space series, where
that's true.
That's
true.
Where like that's probably the I have not played 3. I have not played 3, but 1 and 2 are fantastic,
and the atmosphere is just completely. It's always on, and it never really dulls.
No, it's like I was scared the entire time, even though I knew that no matter what, I could probably, maybe be fine. But it's like, wow. Major props to the studio that EA totally just gobbled up and is no longer a thing. They actually closed this year, early this year. So, oops, Visceral Games. But yeah, props to them for making a fantastic horror experience before a space experience before Alien did kind of the same thing.
I feel like nowadays it's hard to really get a good horror game because so much of it is dulled with just that jump scare.
With Friday. What the frick am I talking about? It's Friday at Freddy's. That's how I was gonna say Five Nights. I was gonna say Five Nights at Freddy's, but I said Friday Nights at Freddy's. I'm like, what the frick?
You're up way too early.
What? It's not Friday. That happened yesterday.
It's true. It might be Friday somewhere else in the world.
No.
No? Okay.
No.
No, because Gum is like the furthest point.
What about Hawaii?
True, but no, because it's their...
No, they are ahead.
They're only like... Yeah,
no, they're behind, I think, aren't they? I don't know. I'm not American, so I wouldn't know. Alaska would...
They are their own... They're their, like, own thing, like, okay?
I don't know. Alaska would be the furthest on that continent, though, wouldn't it?
No, don't you know Alaska and Hawaii are right next to each other? It says so right here on the map.
Oh yeah, it's true.
Yeah, they're in like they're in their little boxes.
It's midnight in Honolulu.
Those are some big boxes.
Boom!
Too.
So it's no longer Friday anywhere in the world.
Friday.
Okay. Anyway, Five Nights at
Anyway, back to Fridays.
Five guys and nights.
At
Freddy's. Friday at Freddy's. Yeah, to go back to that series for a second. That's basically where the height of jump scare games only meant for that reason. I kind of felt like that.
I feel like Scott, I'd still have to give him props regardless of what you want to say.
Oh no, yeah. So I give him mad
because
props.
He made all those games basically by himself and in the span of like a few years.
Yeah.
To be able to do all of that.
And they always were released before the first said release date.
Yes.
The only time that they weren't was the newest one.
They had minimal issues usually when he released them, and he
I think the only one that had something, but then again it was more like an intentional. But it's like, oh, I kind of want to patch it out. Was the fourth game because it was a lot based on audio cues.
I think he did a pretty good job ending the series too.
Well, some say it's probably not ever going to stop.
I feel like he's
Mr. Someone has got to make more FNAF videos, so it won't end.
He's sad though that he wants to go off and make other shit though.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would want to do that too if I was him. I was like,
I'd like to see what he could do with his talents and put them elsewhere.
Yeah.
He could always make a game that's similar to Fridays at Freddy's, but also fairly different. And then when that becomes popular, he could just go full on with the other side of the game. Sort of like a gradual way to get the audience away from Five Nights at Freddy's.
But something to come out of that is the massive amount of fan games.
Yeah.
Now, some were not good. Some were like basic.
And then you had all those Shrek ones. Those were great. Those are good ones.
But then you had some that were actually decent. Like Joy of Creation was amazing.
Oh yeah, that I've totally played the fan games. My fan experience is totally not just Sonic stuff.
It basically inspired other smaller devs and independents to do their own
Five Nights
shit.
at Wario's, baby.
It's true. And then to counter that, you've got Eggs for Bart.
Yes, like, oh my god. that game.
Nice.
It's interesting though, Five Nights at Freddy's, because the first one anyway, it's so minimal, like the horror aspects in it. Like you've got tension, you've got atmosphere, but it feels so like minimal. Like it's just enough for it to be very, very scary. If that makes sense. Even gameplay wise, it's all very minimal, but it still somehow conveys
He still
that
had
horror
atmosphere.
aspect very, very well, just as well as any other game.
And he did, even though for a lot it kind of just.
Well,
they got numb to it eventually.
It did what it needed to do.
Yes.
So
that's what I was getting at. Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, I think it's kind of interesting how horror games have evolved, and now I think that the most debatably, because we haven't seen most of it, but Death Stranding is probably the next like big thing in horror. Though, if you want to call it that, I would call it. I would call it horror. I would definitely call it a horror game, but you know that is debatable. That is very, very debatable because we haven't seen much of it.
What is it?
Death Stranding.
Is it the
Hideo Kojima's new game?
Norman Reedus game?
Yes,
yeah,
that one.
The Reedus Fetus.
It's gonna be some kind of horror. It may not be completely horror, but it's got.
It definitely has the.
I'm interested to see what the fuck his idea was when he thought of it, because
that's basically the entire experience of watching all these. It's just what is going on. I can't wait for this game to come out, even though I have no idea what's going on. Other than that, there's a lot of walking.
Mm-hmm. What if the atmosphere is good? Like,
oh yeah. So one thing that we kind of briefly touched on when it comes to kind of making a good horror game, I know you talked about it, May, is the gameplay or lack there is in some instances. One thing about horror games is that they're probably one of those genres where you're not expected to be in full control of your character, or if you are, then you're not expected to really do much. It's very rare that a horror game character actually can even jump.
Yeah. Oh, don't even get me started in virtual reality. Like when there's a scripted jump scare, your neck like just twists in place so you're in the right position.
Oh man, yeah. Oh yeah, just for the sake of like not going to VR. That's a whole nother thing. But oh boy.
I just feel like there needs to be a balance in the gameplay.
Like
you don't want a complete walking sim all the time, and you don't want to.
I don't want that VR paranormal activity game that's literally walking sim the horror.
Oh god.
It's definitely harder to write and like script VR games because you've always got your own perspective. Normally in games, it's always like a forced sort of perspective. You have to be facing a certain way. In VR, you could be looking at something on the ground and someone jump scares you, but you don't even notice because you're too busy looking down at something.
It's like what?
That's something they have to work out with VR.
Yeah, though to be fair, it would be very similar to real life in a way. So they sort of just have to.
Yeah, you know, it's just that
you got you and you just fucking miss it. That'd be me.
No, I feel like if I were to play that, I'd be the guy that's like, oh, whoops, I think I dropped something, and then I like reach down, and then there's a jump scare that goes above my head, and by the time I reach back, it's like, oh, okay, what happened? Did I hear something?
Yeah. Oh, it's even worse.
Basically, that's how to make a horror a comedy in just 3 easy steps.
Yeah, it's even worse when you're in virtual reality. You can't see anyone around you or anything. So if something's creepy happening, like an arm coming out of a wall or something, you can just sneak up behind the person and scare the absolute crap out of them by like just grabbing them or something. When they actually feel that arm grabbing them or something like that, that would just be
Resident Evil 7 had VR. And that looks really fun. But also, and that, yeah.
It might be a better experience in VR, honestly.
That's what actually that's what I hear too, is that it's a better experience in VR.
But some of those boss fights in VR just sound like oof.
Yeah, it'd definitely be different to play, but I've heard that it's very good in VR.
So, since we are kind of talking about good horror games, the Resident Evil series has been a lot of things, but I still do classify like probably all of them up to and including 4 to be horror games. 5 and 6 are definitely more action games, and 7 I think is kind of still up for debate.
It's an interesting balance.
Because I still consider 4 to be definitely a horror game, but 4 you
would have to
4 ends with a rocket launcher, so like come on.
Because I love Left 4 Dead series, and I would still classify those as horror. How
about Lollipop Chainsaw? Does that count as horror? Like no, it's a comedy.
That's the one zombie game I've been able to play without being horrified, except for the punk rock zombie at the beginning because he looks.
Screw that guy.
I don't like clowns.
It's more of
I'm looking at a list, and
comedy
apparently
sort of
We
game,
Happy Few is categorized as a horror game, and I don't know if I agree with that.
I mean, it's the same way that BioShock would be like horror.
True, but that's true, because for me, like, I'm a little bitch when it comes to playing BioShock, especially by myself.
I still haven't played by BioShock.
That's something horror has, is like, whereas like if you have an RPG or an action game, like they're so one-dimensional as what they can be, but horror basically envelops a bunch of different elements.
It's very
so
more
versatile.
Personal. And it's also way more personal in a medium that is also very personal. And
because I could like Left 4 Dead, but then I could also like something that's less. I like Layers of Fear or something where you don't necessarily get to fight back the evil.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to sort of categorize something into horror too. It's very like lenient, like you were saying. Left 4 Dead in some ways could be considered a horror game. And also,
like when that tank just like comes up on you and you just out of nowhere and you're dead.
I don't know about you guys, but my first experience with The Witch was absolutely horrifying.
Yes, same. I was like, what?
And the noises, even still today. And I know what's happening. Like
playing alone can definitely be a lot scarier than playing with friends too.
Yeah.
Especially when I got introduced to playing it on PC with mods.
Oh no, it's Waluigi! This is a mod for The Witch. He's coming to get me.
My Witches on PC currently have Running in the 90s as their theme song.
Oh my god!
My tank's replaced with Shrek.
Yes.
I think mine is Shrek 2, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Shrek. It's Shrek 2. This is the superior film.
But then you've got like what's the thing that's been happening lately with like Friday the 13th or other the games where they're 1v a set group of players.
The Dead by Daylight style.
Yeah.
Where it's player, it's player versus one
monster.
Yeah.
Or team of players.
Yeah, it's basically
I'm not
team.
sure where that even started because I remember old like Skull Tag stuff doing stuff like that where one person was running out spawning enemies.
It isn't true. It isn't a new thing. Because basically it's a 4v1. The one can't really die.
Left 4 Dead 2 had the mode where you could play the zombies versus humans. Yeah.
Yeah, so
that was more of a team sort of based thing.
But that was team versus team. This is team versus one player, which it has been a thing in a lot of games, but not wasn't really super popular.
The first popular one I think I can remember was maybe Evolve.
Kind of, but that's very debatable.
Before that, though, yeah, but I just can't remember anything before that, really. Not off the top of my head, anyway. I'm sure there was,
but now it's kind of reinvented thanks to Dead by Daylight.
Yes, I'd classify these.
And that is a game that I would classify as a horror.
The Madness Returns is on this list.
Wait, what?
And I agree. It's got some elements of horror to it.
Wait, what is?
Alice, The Madness Returns.
Oh, that. I never played that.
You did? Oh,
I've
yes.
definitely
That's
seen
another
like
game
screenshots and stuff of the game, and it definitely seems like a horror game. It's definitely
there's just different ways. It's more psychological, and like the storyline is what fucks you up.
Yeah.
I
think
actually had
the
this debate, and whether to say that does any of David Cage's games count as horror? And I'm like, probably not. Maybe Heavy Rain.
I'm not really familiar with any of them besides.
Maybe Heavy
Detroit.
Rain, but that's very debatable because that's more of a crime thriller. With some super.
Yeah, thriller is a
Limbo
very
on this
good
list.
list for a lot of the
Inside.
games
Those are
too.
See, there's so much versatility in horror games.
Yeah.
I think that's why I love the genre so much.
I mean, I know Soma is. Oh no, not Soma is considered horror. I think Prey is considered horror.
Yeah.
The
Hellblade is technically horror.
I still have yet to play that, and I have it.
I think maybe tension could be the biggest sort of reason for something being a horror game, like the build up of something might happen or is not going to happen, or even the lack of tension, I guess. But when it's suddenly
it's just when it can lull you into that sense of security and then just come at you.
Yeah,
or if it constantly puts you in there's so many different ways you could feel the fear that the game wants you to feel.
Yeah, and that's what makes a good horror game is when you feel that. And what makes a bad horror game is when it's just jump scares and you don't. There's no substance.
See, in Left 4 Dead, I wouldn't argue it's a necessarily intentional horror game, but you get that bit of tension for the first time seeing the witch, not knowing what it will do, and then even after, you'll still get it sometimes because then you know what it's going to do. And you don't want to confront it.
And I feel like horror games can have that balance where some could be completely constantly trying to scare you or just my little elements of horror throughout the game.
Yeah. So there's some games that can go through the whole entire game with the tension, but nothing ever happening, which can be just as scary as games that are filled with like well-timed jump scares, which are
you're constantly thinking
can be very cheap and easy to do, but
it never happens.
Effective.
All right.
Yeah.
I think that like kind of the last thing to also talk about. I'm just gonna lump these two together. Is of course subject matter and the characters that we play as. A lot of horror games tend to have pretty bland characters. I kind of just think that comes with the territory, and I think it's either the character is non-existent because they're supposed to be you, or there is a character but we're not going to give him a lot of story. I think like the only one I probably could say is like different is maybe Soma. Soma's kind of different.
Soma has a lot of character.
Soma has a lot of character and is still considered
versus like Dead Space where
where Isaac doesn't have
never talk.
Isaac never talks. He just grunts.
He gets jumped for his first time by a necromorph or something. He doesn't even say boo.
But because you have like Alan Wake. Alan Wake, I didn't think he was a bland character. He's pretty.
Oh right, I still have yet to actually play that.
Same with Evil Within. I think there was quite a bit of character, especially with like the DLC. They put a bit in depth.
And I still have to get back to that game too. But the 2 hours that I spent with Evil Within the first game, I was like, yeah, this is great. I think it's kind of hard. Like seriously, I got lost super easily in Evil Within.
Like, I think.
And then you got Layers of Fear, where you're a crazy ass person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is he?
Hell.
Or is he?
For the protagonists of games, I think it's fine for him to be a little bit dull because it's sort of for some horror games.
It's easier for you to mesh yourself into that position.
Yeah,
and then I also think about like the first like Silent Hill. And I'm thinking about like the classic Silent Hill games, where it's just like where they try to have character, but they're still kind of wooden. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Or you could just have something like classic Resident Evil, where it's like we have characters, they have personality. Sometimes they say Jill Sandwich for some reason, but you know.
I was thinking the same fucking thing.
Is that Chris's blood?
Just take a look at this.
Didn't in Resident Evil 6, I haven't played it myself, but didn't they say that again in it as a reference to that?
I think so. I know that in the first Revelations, I think had Barry's daughter. Yeah, because Barry has a daughter, and like she makes a reference to that. Like, oh, Dad says that all the time. Or like, always tells that story.
Yeah.
But yeah, Barry I think becomes a playable character in a DLC in 5. If I remember correctly.
Right.
I think he
all
says
I
it.
remember from Resident Evil 6 was I watched the playthrough from it, and all I can remember was just that, like, there's this one moment you're going through a hall and you see blood on the ground, and the character goes, "Is that Chris's blood?"
Oh right, yeah. That was a callback.
Like, that's the only thing I can remember from it. The playthrough at all. Everything else
and that's the only good part of Resident Evil 6. Is when it's calling back to other games you'd rather be playing.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, that's basically all the time that we're gonna have for the podcast. Unfortunately, this was great. Now we know what makes a good horror game. It's all subjective.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
if your favorite horror game is FNAF, don't hate us. If your favorite horror game is Luigi's Mansion, okay. If it's something else, post about it. I'd actually be really curious to see what people's favorite horror game is, and
I'm interested too.
Mine's Fridays at Freddy's.
oh right, yeah. It better be Fridays at Freddy's because TGIF. Am I right?
Could you imagine
people that have played the game, you'll definitely understand that. You know.
Yeah.
And if someone puts Undertale, I'm gonna debate that.
See, I wouldn't qualify Undertale as a horror.
No.
Even if you're doing fucking.
Even if you're doing the genocide
Genocide.
route and it's literally the most tedious thing ever to do, like it's just boring. I mean, when fighting enemies in an RPG is boring.
I think
Are there any good horror RPGs? I can't think of any.
I think of like, JRPG maker type.
Yeah, because like Bloodborne counts, right?
I was about to say Dark Souls.
Mhm.
You might consider that.
I didn't see Dark Souls on the list, but I did see Bloodborne.
Then
Bloodborne is
It's
more
the closest I
horror-y
can think
than-
of, really.
Yeah. A good Souls series type. Well, it's not really in the series, but a good like horror one that
Oh my god!
I like
am dumb.
is the Surge.
I just said horror RPGs, and I didn't even think about RPG Maker horror games
Yeah.
because those games take
like
hot
Yumi Nikki.
mess. Yeah, or
Oh,
Witch's House, or
Aoni?
Mad Father. Yeah, that counts too.
Yeah, basically all those that
games
you've seen
are
like Markiplier play.
graphics, but they can still create a sense of fear.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
with
yeah,
their
for sure.
atmosphere. I think one of the scariest ones I had experience with was The Crooked Man. That one did a good job.
Oh, I remember that.
And
Yeah.
then there's
Popular
Slender
on
Man,
YouTube.
which she made a movie about. Did you guys see the Slender Man movie? Oh, it's just
No.
so
Yeah.
good.
I think there's been a couple of like fan-made movies, but not like a full-on
No.
like silver screen movie.
Now I just want to go back and watch Marble Hornets.
Uh,
Back when YouTube content was at its peak, in my opinion.
yeah,
what was
in 2005. Wait, that's when it started.
2006 YouTube wasn't it?
I'd say 2010 is where it peaked. That was like
Yeah.
the best
Oh
year.
no,
True.
I mean,
True.
definitely
Actually,
not
I
quite-
think 2010 is actually when I was introduced to the series anyways.
Yeah.
So I may have been off because I didn't pay attention to when it started.
All right, but yeah, but there probably is a lot of horror games that we missed. Again, like I said, that The Surge is probably one of my favorite horrors, and even then, that's kind of very debatable. But like when I got to the end of the game, like oh my god, I was like, actually, yeah, I would count The Surge as horror. It's just technology horror. It's kind of like a warped episode of Black
If
Mirror.
it spooks you, it's a horror game.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me
It's
of like
true.
Black Mirror, especially a lot of its themes. It's like this could just be like a movie of Black Mirror. That's like literally it. But yeah, so post in the comments what is yours, and I'll definitely be reading them or not. I don't know. Anyway, I want to thank my guests for their time here because we had some fun. At least I hope that we did.
We did.
I don't
I
know.
think I did, at least.
Maybe we all secretly hate each other now.
No.
I did. I had everyone.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. It's okay.
Well,
I'm a cunt.
okay,
You can hate me.
It's cool.
It's fine.
I had fun.
All right. I also want to thank my Patreon supporters for helping me actually get things so I can make these podcasts better. And yeah, so in terms of general updates on everything about me, go join my Discord or maybe the Twitter, because that's a thing. Do you guys want to plug anything?
Link in bio. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna plug. I don't have anything to plug.
Oh,
I've only got my YouTube channel and my Twitter. I mean, they're both under my name, KoolaDoora, so they'll be easy to find.
links in bio.
Links in bio.
Well, no, sorry. Links in description.
Same thing, basically.
Yeah.
Because no one checks the bio. No one checks the about page on the YouTube.
I do. Actually, I do.
Okay, one person checks it.
Links in the 7th comment.
But there's no comments.
You got to wait. No links for you then.
All right. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you later. Well, not really see you. More like hear. We don't really hear them. Oh, God. This outro is terrible.
We need sleep gum.
Bye!
Bye.